All right, guys, welcome. How we doing? This is week 5. Start by again, just apologize and hoping everybody got my little message on our Facebook group. I had a little bit of a squeeze in schedules. I completely spaced a committee meeting that I have tonight here with the city of Pelham where I live, and we only meet every month. So it's something that I cannot miss. It squeezes me because if I push our time back tonight for the call, I would have ended up not being able to pick up my newly fiance, Jess, at the airport because I scheduled her flight to come back from Napa and to be here by 10:30. So it's something where I'm just kind of squeezed on both ends of my schedule tonight. So I'm doing this today. I'm going to post this to our event page, and hopefully this will serve as our group call then for this week. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to go live for about 15, 20 minutes and answer questions for anybody that watches this and then still needs either some fill in the blanks or just has questions about the content. And I think this week's content is going to be very interesting to people. So just to recap on last week's information, I've got a lot of stuff now that has been posted to the Facebook page. And if you haven't already sent me your email to connect with Canva, it's a great way for me to share some of the marketing templates. And I know, like Andrea, you have shared now with me a really good one-pager template, and I think there's some really good creativity that's going on there. So keep in mind that stuff is there. Last week, though, we covered a variety of different things. We covered kind of this pitch perfect outline, and this is something that we reviewed even prior to last week, kind of with the redo of week 4. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that today, but we talked about the 3 H's, the head, the heart, the hands. We talked about a campaign recipe and all the things that you really, even if you don't have it today, should be preparing for in regards to marketing yourself as a public speaker. And that included things like your one page, your speaker box, your packet, intro videos, promo videos, all the way down to then, coming up with some sort of sequence of marketing for yourself. And I shared with everybody a really great sequence that has been studied and used by, one of my former speaking companies, Rachel's Challenge, and it works like a gem. So definitely something just to consider as you guys are moving forward. This week, we're going to talk a lot about the preparation of kind of once I've really booked an event, what should I have prepared? How do I look at my content differently? I'm going to be giving you guys some content and mindset tips today. I'm also going to be talking about monetizing the stage. So we're really going to dive into the financials, the pricing, the products, the difference between a speaker who's making $70,000 a year and the difference between a speaker who's making $500,000 a year. A lot of it comes down to how are they monetizing the stage. So the very first thing I'm going to show you today, and I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share here for us, is I'm going to show you guys a monetizing exercise worksheet that I want you guys to work on. So this is something that I think from a coach call standpoint, it would be really helpful that once you go through this, if you could send this to me or at least send this final kind of grid that you see here on the actual screen. I want to get this from everybody. But what this looks like, I'm going to kind of take you through this, is talking about the levels of products, services, and sales, kind of like your funnel. Not necessarily your marketing funnel, but this is like when I'm at an event, what happens from a preview event to a regular event? What products do I sell? How do I move to the next levels and layers, and how are they priced accordingly, et cetera? So we're going to look at this, and this helps us lead into the next exercise, which will be how we calculate our EPI. So it's known as stage value indicator in other marketplaces. I didn't want to kind of copy just the SVI, so I named it EPI, which is our event profit indicator. That will be our next exercise following this. So monetizing the stage, it states here that, every event has a tremendous opportunity to produce sizable and scalable profit for a speaker. The difference, again, between a speaker who's making $70,000 and the speaker who's making $500,000 literally comes down to how each of those two speakers monetize their stage differently. If you aren't offering anything beyond simply your advice, your voice, your speech, or a large scale, scalable product, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Meaning that if I'm going to a speech and I'm saying, okay, hey, your only choice as my audience was to either take my advice from here and start to apply it on your own, or to pay this astronomical amount, $5,000, $10,000 for the next step, I'm leaving a big space, a huge gap in between, both in the customer relationship kind of funnel, as well as just price points and markers that can lead to good income for me for that event. So below is a chart. I'm going to show you guys kind of this to help you understand how a stage can be scaled and the vertical model that can lead to immense profit increase for your business. So keep in mind that if you already have great products, this exercise is still beneficial in understanding how and when your scale of price should work. So I'm going to start here with our physical on-site product. Every speaker should have something that while they are there on stage that day, someone can get immediately and at a low cost. So sometimes speakers will give this away for free to start to capture people into the funnel and send them down to level 1, level 2, level 3. But I think that, if priced properly and showed a benefit, I think this is something where you should be able to capture sales at your event without having anything further for that individual really to do. So some items or examples, and this can be digital or physical. The book, if you've authored a book, this would be like the physical copy of the book that you can sell. An ebook, something that you can also sell at the event if it's something that you have on Amazon or some sort of Audible, etc. There's lots of ways to get that in there. A smartphone app, if there's something that they can download from your website, maybe it's just something that helps them navigate, or maybe it's like a quick, easy, like 5-step guide on how to improve their real estate business or how to, deal with conflict in the workplace. These things are simple things. This should not be something where it's a huge, tangible, huge product for you. This is like a page that they're like, I really liked this in your speech. How do I take that and apply it in my everyday life? Here it is. And maybe it's a tutorial or guide. This product should be priced between $5 and $50 to ensure the largest body of the audience can afford and will purchase this item. So your conversion rate as you get into EPI, and we're going to do this here in a little while, but your conversion rate, it can be as high as 75%. Like I know guys that are closing 75% of their audience on easy tech, electronic, like easy downloads that are low cost. But you should probably calculate between 30 and 50% to begin with in regards to this product, as long as you're keeping that price point for the product and the ease of access really, really low. Now, in any speech, in any context of our environment of events, whether it's a keynote, which a keynote, you're coming in and literally you are the center stage, you're the attention. A preview event is similar, but you're not necessarily the center of attention. Normally your content is the center of attention. To like a 1-day event, even a 2-day event. We're looking at what can we scale and where can we move people next? And how does that, I guess, play off of each other? If someone's already moved to a level 1 or already moved to a level 2, how do the other products intermingle? So a level 1 product, this is going to be like your first promotional offer at an event. Level 1 product should range between the price of $100 and $500 to ensure that this remains still a difference between the on-site product and this level, but should also still maintain a contrast between level 1 and level 3 products. And I'll show you that here in a minute. Online digital series. Most of your level 1 product should be something that was pre-designed. It's pre-prepared. It doesn't take your interaction to capture it. So this could be like a digital online series. Maybe it's a series of videos or lessons that someone can access. It's a series maybe of 5 or 10 lessons that are 2 to 5 minutes long, and they get this for $150, and it gives them more time with you, hopefully more applicable access and some sort of epiphany that they can work with, moving forward. Maybe it's an online course that takes them through an instrumental training on something. Or it could also just be another advanced event, so something that's live. And that would be something, though, that would already be pre-scheduled if I'm going to try to sell this at an actual live event. I'm going to say, hey, here is the date. Here is what it takes. Here's the cost. Again, between $100 and $500 is kind of the range for this product. And as far as conversion rates, this can convert as high as 40%. You're not going to get half the audience that is immediately buying, your level 1 type item, unless you're a Tony Robbins and you've created this environment at the event where it's just, mythical But you should calculate as we get into the modeling of this between 20 and 30% to begin with. So that is level 1 product. Level 2 product, and this is interesting because you would think that this now scales up, but this actually focuses on a different kind of revenue. A level 2 product is now going to focus on monthly revenue, and this is our monthly offer. Okay, so we're now looking at something that's online membership access, something that's a monthly newsletter, something that is maybe group digital coaching. Again, from a standpoint of annual fee, like what does it cost me annually? It should be pretty close annually to what the level 1 product looks like. But here I'm focusing on consistency. I'm focusing on relationship. I'm focusing on people that buy a level 2 product are going to be more apt to then convert to buy a level 3. And so there is a little bit of a difference between this level 2 product and the level 1 product. Again, conversion rates on this one is going to be pretty similar. You can get as high as 40%, but it's going to be roughly, closer to 20, 30% when you're first starting out. This should be kind of the meat of what you really focus on. Like when you get a good group, 20, 30% that moves on this product and purchases this product from your speech, you're doing a good job. Like something is working, something is clicking there. As we move into level 3, level 3 products are your highest price offer. This is kind of like your mecca. Like these are products that, they are designed for the tribe. This is going to be like your biggest fan, your true fan member. This should be perceived as extravagant, possibly private, something where they have personal access to you. This is like your abnormal type product. Like this is something where someone says, I really enjoyed this so much, I need more of this person. So private coaching, weekend events, like full immersion events that aren't just one-day advanced courses or live advanced events, online elite teams where maybe it's a digital immersion event combined with a private coaching element. These things should range in price from $1,000 to $5,000. As you start to get to the $5,000 level, it's something, guys, that you have reached kind of a level where you're now looking at truly a performable product and truly something where you've caught the gold. So I would say start on the lower level for this just to move people easier into this. But if you're converting a high percentage, raise the price. You should not be converting. If you're converting more than 10% to this particular level, you haven't made it elite enough. This should be targeted at a top of 10%. But in the beginning, as we're charting this, you might want to only calculate between 2 and 5%. Keep it small because not many people should be converting to this. You want this to be perceived as like the elite objective. So what I'm going to have you do is I give you these examples of each product level. And then as you get down here, there's going to be basically a blank chart for you guys to fill in. And on this blank chart, what you'll do is you may not have all 3. Like you may not have 3 products. I'm just giving you space to brainstorm 3 different products that are on site, 3 different level 1 products, 3 different level 2s, level 3s. It's all there for you. I want you to plug in the details of what is that product, right? And then what is the cost? What will you charge for it? You're going to be referencing this list when you go through the next activity, the next exercise, which will be involved with our EPI. So keep that in mind that you will be using this here very shortly as we get to the next document. This would be the page. If you wanted to send me something, a screenshot, you could send me the full document if you wanted to, but this is what I would like to see from you so we can talk about your products, your price points, and just kind of see how does this flow work. So there's a lot of ways that we can look at how do these products interact with one another. So one of the questions comes up is if someone, reaches right off the bat and buys the level 1 product, but does not buy the on-site product, then that means that somewhere in this online or in this level 1 product, I should be citing a reminder that they need to make sure that they have this on-site product. I don't want anybody who already just jumped and spent $100 to $500 with me to forget the fact that these other items might be extremely valuable to their development of their next stage. So every single one of these levels should talk about either the product previous or the product after it. And like mentioning level 2, mentioning level 3, making sure that we look at what is the actual most beneficial way for someone to move from product to product. So you'll want to go through each of your products and say, okay, how does product 3 connect to product 2? How does it connect to product 1? How does it connect to my on-site product? And how do I make sure that if someone goes from my live event and jumps right in and buys product level 3, do I automatically give them the on-site product? Do they get level 1 as well or level 2 as well? How do I make sure that I can multiply some of these from a standpoint of purchases? So a lot of this will increase your revenue potential from any given stage. So that is our monetizing the stage document that I'll post in our Facebook group. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Our next document I'm going to pull up here is going to be our EPI calculator. And I'm just going to kind of make this a little bit bigger here for us. The EPI calculator is something that it's really used to really look at opportunities. And when you're negotiating your stage fee or your price to come and speak to a group, number one, it sets the tone of what is an event worth for me. But it's also one of the things that we look at to start to determine how do I negotiate my actual stage fee or my speaking fee. So I think, if you take the traditional public speaker, what you're going to find, and I'm going to kind of walk you guys through this, the traditional speaker focuses right here on their speaking fee. And they pretty much try to live or die by that fee alone. They look at it and they say, okay, $1,500, I want $4,000. And your host is like, well, that's got to come fully out of my pocket. I can't afford you, pass, I'm on to the next speaker. And some speakers are like, well, how are some of these speakers making all of this money and have an ad budget and able to get, all of these gigs throughout the year if they're only charging $750 or $750 to $1,000? Like, how is that even worth it if they're traveling, if they're spending time on the road, hotels, flights, etc.? Well, what it looks like is typically they have a revenue map. They have some form of way of monetizing that stage far past the actual speaking fee that they might receive. So, my speaking fee might be $0. In fact, if you look at it, you start to really kind of work yourself here. This is when it starts to make sense where someone might say, you know what, I'll pay you to be on your stage. I will pay you $1,000 as a speaker to allow, for you to allow me to come and be a breakout session speaker at your event, because I've been able to calculate, I know what that event is going to be worth to me if I get 50 to 100 people in my breakout session. So we'll go through each of these lines. So speaking fee, it gives you some details right here. The amount you are being paid to arrive. Okay, that is like your speaking fee. Audience size, we're going to have you calculate it, like what would be the audience size of any given event. Number of leads that you would capture. So I might, look at this as low, 25 leads. Maybe it's 100 leads if I'm getting like the entire, group's contact list from my particular host, etc. This is more going to be ventured for later. Now we start looking at average products sold. This is going to be my on-site product. So book sales, maybe I get $250 in book sales. Percentage of my audience size that is going to be converted to level 1 product. So this is the percentage of everyone that's in attendance. So out of these 100 people, that I'm going to get into my level 1. And in this particular case, I went 50%. All right. So that would mean that my level 1 product, if I had it identified, I could calculate its value, etc. Most speakers, guys, this is what it looks like for them. It is 0. They don't have a level 1 product. Heck, they may not even have an average product just to sell at their speech. So when they start to look at this, these categories are like 1,500 here, and it's like zeros all the way down, which means their average profit from their event today is $1,500. So the very first exercise you're going to do is you're going to fill this in from the now. Not from what you want this to look like, not what you are building this to look like, but what is it right now today? How many of these events can you do that you can capture somebody with these products? I want you to fill it in. I want you to then create your numbers. That way we can see like, what is your current event standard worth? Then we're going to move into the future. All right. So then you're going to do the same thing again. And this time I've given you some examples of actual products, level 2, level 3. I want you to fill it in based on the future. What would you like your event model of revenue to look like? So I'm going to start to take into consideration, again, what do I want my percentage of converted to level 1 products to be? And what is it? In this particular case, 50 people at a $10 product, you're going to write in where it says details, you can just write in the details of what your product is. You can also write it in your example if you'd like. But we want you to be able to calculate, what is that level 1 product worth to you? What is the level 2 product worth to you? What is the level 3 product worth to you? At the very end of the day, then you're going to be writing down, what is the average profit of that exact same event that you had up top, right? What is the exact same event now worth to you if you built out this entire revenue model? And you'll see my comparisons here. It went from, $1,750 to $11,250 for the exact same event, just by adding in some products and making sure that I had a place for people to move to when it came to after my speech. So just take into consideration always that your stage is just the beginning. It is just the starting point to all of this. If you can, I would like to see this stuff emailed to me. If you guys want to also post these items on the Facebook group, I think that's really helpful for everybody. I realize that some people are a little skeptical on giving their ideas or their price points away. I don't think we have anybody in this group that we have to worry about in regards to integrity. So if you want to post these to share with each other, I think it would be helpful for everybody just to kind of see, what is someone else doing? What are they creating? I can give examples till I'm blue in the face, but to see and know about someone else's business is a very informative element. So great way of just sharing this information. The last section here of our kind of week's group information, I'm going to kind of go to this since I don't have interaction or taking questions right now. I'm just going to jump into this. I'm going to give you guys some mindset tips, some content tips, some tips around negotiating your fees and kind of what that should look like. And I'm taking out just notes upon notes and filling in blanks of informational pieces from questions that you guys have asked over the last couple weeks to things that I've wanted you guys to hear or know about that we just haven't had a lot of time to move into your content. So I'm going to start at the top of this particular page. Negotiation of your fee. When it comes time to negotiation of your stage fee, this being again the fee that you get for simply showing up, it's important to take into consideration the EPI of the event. Ask yourself the following questions as well. So you always want to look at the event model, right, and say, okay, what is this event worth to me? But then I also want to ask some other questions, because my interactions with people, how much time I'm going to get not on stage but off stage, prior to the event, after the event, how much prep time do the contacts get? All of that changes my conversion percentages. It increases the probability or decreases the probability of me being able to sell other things. So I want to ask the following 5 questions. Number 1, how much interaction will I have before and after my talk with the audience? More time means higher conversion rate to other products, because it's more time to build a relationship, ask questions, move people from that space of I don't know to a definite yes. Number 2, are you able to get attendees' contact information ahead of time? Like, can I prep this group? Can I actually send them a video intro? Can I get to these members or these audience individuals before I even show up to start to prep their mindset that I'm coming? Also, likely a plausible question, can I get the information of these contacts or their attendees' contact information after the event? Is that something that I've already worked into my event contract? Are there promos or video that attendees will get prior to my arrival? Like, what are they hearing about me prior to this event from my host or from the contact? And then, additionally, on kind of a different level, but similar question is, will the contact or host, are they willing to help me promote that level 1, that level 2, that level 3 kind of sales product element? I've got contacts, and I'll give you guys an example. I have a contact who reached out to me today, and she knows that I've left the Negotiation Institute. She reached out. She said, hey, tomorrow is our biggest conference. It is our biggest kickoff event. We're going to be with all of our agents. They're in State College, Pennsylvania. She said, is there anything that I can share with my group to help promote you further? Like, we're going to have an all hands there. This is going to be people getting excited, ready to spend money, ready to kind of move their career into the next element. What is it that I can help provide my agents that is different, better, great, etc. So I'm going to be talking with her just as an advantage of, hey, here's one person who I'm not even going to the event, but she is a host that has always been willing to sell my services after coming to a preview or doing something of that nature. So it's always worth good money when you have a host like that. Each of these items can play a role, and I'm just reading from right here for you. Each of these items can play a role in the overall success of your event. If the contact is conservative and not interested in participation of any of the above, your fee should then reflect that intention not to assist. If they're willing to help out and looking for ways to cut costs, then I can also, be more involved in the negotiation of what are they going to provide versus what am I going to get, and I can lower that fee a little bit from a standpoint of what am I guaranteed. When we look at overall pricing, I know many of you guys have asked on coach calls, what's a good number? Where should I start? Keynotes at conferences, I'm going to start there. Rule of thumb is nothing less than $3,000. If you are intro, you can be below that if it's a small conference. But if you are going after a big conference, you need to price yourself accordingly to the professionals that are also asking for the same gig. So $3,000 until you've completed at least 5 keynotes. Then for every 5 that you complete, you can bump that fee up to a max of $1,000. So by the time you get to 20 plus keynotes, you should be able to ask then for $7,500 to $10,000. Now, again, that means though that you received and you got the fee every time you increased. It doesn't mean I start to increase and I continue to book at 3,000 and eventually I'm just still asking for 7,500, but I'm not getting any gigs. It would mean that I've delivered 5 keynotes at that price point of that additional $1,000 before I'll ever then raise the price point. So it would be several years before you would end up at $7,500 to $10,000 per keynote. But that's kind of a rule of thumb, and I'm taking that from progression of other speakers that have had trial and error and how many, I call them transactions, they've had to go through in order to kind of step ladder their price, both from a confidence standpoint and from a resume standpoint. So hopefully that'll give you guys a good delivery there. Typically a one-day event. So take keynotes off the books now. I'm just talking about a board, association, a committee, a networking group, something of that nature. They say, Mike, we want to bring you in for a day. We're paying for you. Our members are all, maybe we're a nonprofit, et cetera. Nothing less than $1,500. Okay, $1,500 is always like my going day rate for a day. Just like I'm going to come in, I'm going to dish information, and I'm going to leave. There's going to be little to no prep for me there. For a half day, similar, $750 to $1,000 is right where I'm at for a half day. Sometimes I like to be right at $1,000 because it will push them to say, well, how much then for a full day? And it's only an extra $500 because either way, I've got to make the trip and I got to take the whole day off from a standpoint of doing the event. So a half day is worth a little bit more per hour than a full day is. Preview event, you should either have a large audience, okay, that are paying, $20, $30 a person, or that I can convert to some of my other products, or I need to be able to make about the same as a half-day event. So a preview event, if someone says, hey, I've got a bunch of members, we're willing to charge $25 for the event, and I say, well, how many members do we think we can get? And they say, well, we can get, 50 members here at $20 event. That's $1,000. I might have to share some of that with that particular organization, et cetera. So again, if I'm making $750 to $1,000 for a preview event, that's fantastic. Heck, if I'm making even $500 for a preview event, I'm doing pretty good. So when it comes to pricing and just your negotiations, take those things into consideration. Content suggestions. And content and mindset have a pretty close relationship to one another. So I will moderately be talking about both of these together, but when it comes to mapping out your content, it's important to assess and reassess the flow of content at all given times. So there's some suggestions here when you're critiquing your content for any event size. Very first thing that I was always told to do, and I found it helpful, although it takes a little work to set up, is take out a roll of like 50 feet worth of butcher paper and just plaster it across one wall. Right? And take that butcher paper, just plaster it out and map from start to finish the flow of your entire speech, just start to finish. And what you'll notice is you'll start to see little points of reference where you'll start to see, okay, this is a good time for me to promote this product. This is a good time over here for me to promote, this particular epiphany, or this is a good time to ask for audience feedback. Like when you map it out visually and you can see it, it works really well, and it serves as a perfect overlay for multimedia. So if I'm bringing in music, audio, video, if I'm doing slides, whatever it is, I can now see the flow of everything and where I want visual references and replications to be just based on that butcher paper. So always a great reference is to do that, especially for the first time of building a course. I think it's very helpful. Become a thief. I want to use this at a very moderate level, but no one out there is extremely creative when it comes to concepts, when it comes to the master concept. And when you're trying to fill event space and be elite and really treat something with authority, every expert out there uses content and ideas from other experts. It's how we all become experts, is we learn from other people. So become a thief. No one expects you to be the most creative genius out there. Look for content and media copy that is relevant to your space. Simply then change the concept to fit more your style, your source, and your voice. Those types of elements. It doesn't mean photocopy, but it's take the ideas and things that make the most sense to you and use them. If it's not broke, don't fix it type situation. Another great content tip, and I thought this was really good when I first heard this, and that was create epiphanies. When you have that butcher paper out, it is one of those things where I want to create epiphanies, surprises, aha moments. They need to happen everywhere when it comes to your speech. So whether it's an hour long, whether it's a full day long, where are the epiphanies going to come in? Where are they going to learn something and have insight into this problem, this solution, this topic that only you could provide them or that they hadn't heard before, right? Or maybe it's been out there. Maybe it's an epiphany that you had, but they haven't had it yet. So create epiphanies, create these aha moments, these surprises throughout your content as much as you can. Keep in mind that the key to scalable product is a decent overlap between online and offline products. So making sure that you have things that are available for people to take easily, tech, one-click downloads, and also things that involve more you interaction, personalization, etc. Scalable products require both. If I'm too just me, it's hard to scale. If it's too just all digital, there's not enough personality, there's not enough personable touch. So it's a balance between online and offline media. Next one down is make sure you're clear on what your unique differentiator is and how you're going to use it. There are other people in every space. Doesn't matter how unique you think your topic is or your idea is or your approach is, there's always someone else that is doing something very similar, or that some consumer who's not in the know might consider is doing the exact same thing as you. So what makes you unique? What makes you different? How do you stress this content? What is your approach? Really start to work on that. It could take you an entire career to figure that out, but it is something that you want to start to consider early rather than later. Last two pieces here when it comes to content. One is when discussing problems. Remember that there are 3 distinct problem categories. If I say that, if I'm trying to speak to a full large audience, most of the time what everybody is going to have in common, a large group, is actually going to be a fairly small problem. When I start talking about major problems, well, keep in mind that there's only going to be a smaller audience that is experiencing that major problem. And then medium problems kind of go with about the medium of the audience. So I do want to talk to the audience around all of this. But keep in mind that the larger a problem is, the less likely all of my audience is going to be experiencing it. And, when we talk about some of this, an example, at least for Andrea Hall and possibly Anna as well, when we talk about like the legal field and attorneys struggling with alcohol or substance abuse or trust account problems, although it may seem like a large body, maybe even certain statistics and test fields show a high percentage, from a standpoint of what the audience is going to say, yes, that's a problem for me, is probably going to be a smaller audience. So I want to make sure that I'm also talking about small issues that everybody faces and how my solutions apply, as well as those larger issues that only meet a smaller body of individuals that are with me there in that audience. So keep in mind, content-wise, when you're discussing problems, just the narrative between these three. Also, think about the narrative between the problems or the pain, and take these into consideration as far as these questions. When it comes to your content, it might be something that you want to get out in front of and actually state these reasons or these items so that people aren't left thinking, well, what about this? So the first question is, why don't people solve this problem on their own? The problem that you're fixing, why don't they already solve it? You should be telling your audience that, because if they're like, well, I could do this on my own, tell them why they haven't. Tell them why other people seated next to them also haven't fixed that problem. Content-wise, where will the audience disagree with my position on the problem or the cause? Another place that I can call you out. Here's what I think you will disagree with, right? And I might say, I realize that my audience, you guys may disagree with my stance or my position on X, but hear me out when it comes to this. This is typically why people disagree with this position. Talk about that. Where will they agree with me? State those obvious points. And then what is the opposing views to my argumentations, to my strengths? How do I overcome this with logic, with visuals, with, believable data when it comes to, the opposing view? How do I sway people my direction? It's kind of like if I have competition out there, which might be a competing viewpoint, I don't want to ignore it. I don't want to act like it doesn't exist. I want to call it to the forefront and talk about my competitive advantage and talk about why my particular point of view is stronger, better, or more consistent with the future outcome of these people and their better well-being. So these are all content tips for you guys. Last thing that I have here is going to be some mindset tips. And again, I'll be posting all of this on our Facebook group. So if you feel like I'm going a little brisk, I apologize. But pre-event mindset, when it comes to, when comparing comparable experiences between speaker A or speaker B and researching the results of why speaker A makes less or is less effective than speaker B, the conclusions on this research are pretty cut and dry. Yes, revenue model when it comes to success is one of the things that is a major differentiator, but confidence and mindset tend to be the two things that when it comes to public speaking really sets apart speaker A and speaker B. What I want you to do is I want you to take into consideration how big mindset is going into an event. And I want you to take these bullet points seriously, and I really want you to take them to heart. So it is a huge part of why we will be successful. Very first thing, be dominant in your tone. And that means authoritative, right? Use some authority in your tone of voice. Remember that at an event, you are the expert. You are either going to be deemed as 100% right or 100% wrong. There should not be this wishy-washy in-between period. You're not a philosopher. You are there to square people up, to give them direction, and to move them to the next stage. So for me, I'd rather be 100% right about something or be 100% wrong about it. But you're going to think that when I state something and it is my opinion, that it is fact and that is it. I am concluded in there. If you can prove me wrong, then I'm going to be 100% wrong. So practicing having a confident voice, a confident tone, an authoritative type of theme to your talk, especially at times when we're talking about what is the benefit to my audience member, that's when this really plays a role. With that, next one is practicing preeminence. And preeminence is a terminology I took from a guy by the name of Gary Ryan Blair. He is he's coined as the goals guy. He has this 100-day challenge that he runs. Amazing success with this 100-day, $199 online program in regards to goal accomplishment. I mean, he's just, it's phenomenal what he's done with this one piece. But he uses this kind of mindset to establish that tone of voice. And his thing is, I'm going to be preeminent. Pre meaning beforehand. Eminence meaning dominance, meaning like emperor, meaning I am the best of the best. And before I ever arrive at an event, I am practicing preeminence. My tone's going to be awesome. I'm going to be awesome. My interactions, my closings, everything is going to be perfect. And I'm going to embody that particular energy, from the time I get up in the morning through the time I go to sleep the next day, past the event. nothing will be placed above my existence when I am present, like literally nothing. That is what preeminence is. And he has this, this entire speech that he does on preeminence that I just thought was fantastic from a standpoint of controlling your room, controlling your audience, and really giving a vibrant message to people that are listening. As I move down, consistently closing during your speech. You know, we've heard the ABC, always be closing, but it's kind of like everything that you're doing in your speech, if you're trying to move people to other products, if you're trying to move them to other ways to interact with you that are more important for both them and from you, I need to be talking about it. I can't expect that at the end of the day, after I've already given an hour speech or a 2-hour event or a 4-hour event, that all of a sudden people are like, okay, what's next? I had to be prepping them, telling them, consistently encouraging them. And then when it comes down to it, it's almost like they're waiting for me to present it and they're waiting for it to cost more than it really does. So then when I give the promotional offer and I'm like, here's what you can do next, people are on it. They're like, that's amazing. So it's consistently closing throughout your speech will help you move your people through this revenue model successfully. Last two, environment. When it comes to your mindset and really the mindset of the audience, music and video communicates way more than our words ever will. So when it comes to why is Tony Robbins such an impactful speaker, very little of that has to do with his content. Very little. He has good content, don't get me wrong. John Maxwell has good content, but it's the environment that people get placed in when they show up to one of his events that makes the mind just turn and start to spin and say, ooh, I want more of this. I want this energy. I want that kind of lifestyle. I want to be around these kind of people. I want these kinds of stories. Like, that is a created environment. It is on purpose when you go to one of those events. So using music, using video, those are on purpose ways to help the mindset of the audience be better. And it will also help you perform better and be perceived as a more professional speaker when you create that environment. Last but not least, and this is going to sound harsh in some aspects, your conversion rate is the only statistic that matters. Like, it is the only thing, period, that I would ever review in regards to your speaking business. Yes, we want to get you events, right? We want to get you in front of audiences. So we can always tweak, you know, what's the closing ratio or conversion rate of how many people we're looking at. But I'm talking, what is my conversion rate of the people that are at your talk, that are at your event, that are at your speech? What is your conversion rate? You know, I know, Andre, you've heard this particular saying before. It's a saying that it will always stay in my head. Results is the best way to compare one individual to another. It's often harsh, but it's always a fair way for us to compare two individuals side by side on any given skill set. So conversion rate is my only focal point when it comes to what did I accomplish at my event. If I wanted people to move to another event, how many of them moved? Was I prospecting 20% and only 3 moved? Was I prospecting 20% and 30 moved? Those are the only statistics that you really need to track in your business, is conversion rates. So hopefully, guys, we got a lot of good information from this week. Yeah, I think there's a lot to go off of in regards to kind of still now prepping for events and getting your revenue model intact. As we get into weeks 6 and 7, a lot of it is going to be based on booking. It is going to be booking blitzes. It is going to be tracking, researching, again, better ways to just do reach outs. It's going to be, you know, do this tomorrow, do this on Wednesday, do this on Thursday, little pieces that we can do that will create successes for us in our speaking business. So again, before I go, I will be on a call tomorrow night. I'm going to launch this Zoom call. I'll give you guys the link again with the time on our Facebook group, but I plan on being on at 8:30 p.m. tomorrow night to answer questions from today's call. So make sure you guys, you know, watch this to its entirety. Do the work, like at least look at the worksheets if you can before you jump on tomorrow's call. And then other than that, I look forward to seeing you guys all on your coach calls this week. So hope you guys had a great weekend, and I look forward to working with everybody coming forward. Have a great day. We'll talk to you guys soon.